Hi guys, I'm Holly Whetstine. Today I'll be telling you about venipuncture. This won't hurt too much, just a little poke. More than likely, if you've had your blood drawn, you've heard this before. Have you ever watched us draw your blood? Have you ever wondered why we use different colored tubes or have to stab you 5 different times? Venipuncture is something that anybody can be trained to do. Although it doesn't take too long to be trained, there's lots of different skills that go into it. Today, I'll be giving you insight on phlebotomy and explain why we do what we do. According to McGraw-Hill Dictionary, venipuncture is the surgical puncture of a vein. In the time Hippocrates was doing medicine, he studied bloodletting. Bloodletting is the surgical removal of blood to rid the body of diseases and toxins. Another form of bloodletting was leeches and suctioning cups. Gallen discovered that arteries also carry blood and not just veins. Barbers also participated in bloodletting, and that's why they have the 3 different colors on their barber poles. The red stands for the arterial blood, the blue stands for venous blood, and the white stands for the bandages. The difference between phlebotomy and bloodletting is phlebotomy does not take as much blood. Because of all the different technology that we have nowadays, it takes a lot less blood to run different tests than bloodletting took. Fun fact, George Washington, who had a very bad throat infection, had bloodletting done on him, but he died from it. Now that I've told you about the history of bloodletting, I'm going to tell you about some of the techniques and supplies that we use. We most commonly use 3 different size needles. We use an 18 gauge, which are used for blood cultures, the 21 gauge, which is the most commonly used, and a 25 gauge, which is the smallest. We have 2 different kinds of needles, a butterfly, which is used for smaller veins, and we use them for older people. They hurt a lot less, but cost more. A vacutainer, which is used for larger veins. We use those on younger, healthier people. They hurt a little more, but they cost less. According to phlebotomycoach.com, there are 6 colored tubes that are most commonly used. For blood cultures, they're mostly in a yellow tube. The sodium citrate is in a blue tube. A clot activator is in a red tube. The serum separator tube is in gold. The heparin is in a green tube, and the EDTA is in a purple tube. All of these tubes contain additives. According to BD.com, the order of draw is important to reduce cross-contamination between tubes. Now that I've told you about the techniques and supplies, I'll be telling you about some of the tests and difficulties we face. There are hundreds of different tests that we can run. The most common are renal, which make sure that your kidneys are okay, a CBC, which is a complete blood count, and that checks you for any blood diseases, a CMP, which is a comprehensive metabolic panel. That's 14 tests in one to make sure that your organs are okay, and a BMP, which is a basic metabolic panel, which is only 8 tests in one that also checks your organs. A ProTime checks to see how quickly your blood clots. We can usually run 2 to 4 tests from the same tube. In the clinic I work at, we most commonly draw blood for pre-op or before and after transplants. Although it may hurt, it's very important to have your blood drawn because it could show something that we wouldn't have found any other way. Some of the difficulties we face are a hard stick. That's somebody whose vein we just can't find. A blown, rolling, or deep vein are also considered hard sticks. A hematoma is the clotting of blood which causes a bruise. Scar tissue is also an issue if somebody's had their blood drawn a lot and it's harder to get through. And people with the fear of needles. Now that I've told you about the tests and I've told you about the tests and difficulties. In conclusion, getting into venipuncture as a career is something anyone can do in a short period of time. I enjoyed telling you about venipuncture and the supplies and techniques that we use and the difficulties we encounter as phlebotomists.